Yeah, I got Jack on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he showed up.
Oh, Jack's online.
He's already on the phone.
Yeah, he's on there.
It's gone. It's good.
I have a friend of mine that's not in session.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to call to order the hybrid virtual Pasco County Board of County Commission meeting of March 9th, 2021. At this time, please silence all electronic devices and mute your microphones. Please stand with me for the invocation and the pledge.
O merciful Creator, your hand is open wide to satisfy the needs of every living creature. Make us thankful for your loving providence and grant that we, remembering the account that we must one day give, may be faithful stewards of your good gifts. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Here.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey. Here. District 4, Commissioner Fitzpatrick. District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Here.
District 1, Chairman Oakley.
Here. Today's virtual meeting, when we do have items to vote for, we will be voting by roll call vote because one member's not present. Another member's running a little late and will be here shortly. Okay. Mr. Steinsteiner, will you please go over today's proceeding with the BCC?
Be happy to, Mr. Chairman. On March 12, 2020, the Board of County Commissioners declared a local state of emergency after the governor issued Executive Order 2051, the public health emergency, and 2052, the state of emergency related to COVID-19, which has recently been extended by Executive Order 2145 on February 26, 2021. The board has chosen to hold its board meetings with a quorum physically present, utilizing communications media technology for the public and team members to participate. A detailed notice indicating the board's intent to conduct a hybrid virtual meeting has been posted on the board's website. On September 25th, 2020, the governor issued Executive Order 2244, moving the state into Phase 3 of the governor's Safe, Smart, Step-by-Step order, which was extended by Executive Order 2297, issued on November 24th, 2020. Large gatherings of over 50 people are still not recommended to congregate in any public space that does not readily allow for appropriate social distancing. The state's Surgeon General Public Health Advisory is still in place with regard to maintaining social distancing and avoiding gatherings of 10 or more people. The public is being afforded an opportunity to make public comments either in writing or by the use of communications technology that has been provided. The board adopted Resolution 20-182 on June 30th, 2020, establishing the procedural rules for hybrid virtual meetings such as the one being held today. As with any public meeting, you take action, you are required to take public comment on any proposition pursuant to Section 286.0114 Florida statutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now is the time for public comment. Citizens are given an opportunity to comment on any item coming before the board during this section. The board also takes public comment on items placed on a future board agenda and other business under their purview. Due to COVID-19 operations and safeguard the wellness, well-being, and safety of our citizens, staff, today's public comment will be held as follows. First, we will take public comment from those who have pre-registered for WebEx link and are currently on queue. After we will read the into record the public comments, documents, PowerPoints, videos that have been identified by members of the public to be read for out loud, played in the meeting, and received and filed. Finally, we will take public comment from those currently signed up at the kiosk station. Comments are not to exceed 3 minutes per person. This new format does not waive the request for when you address the board. Comments are not to be directed toward any commissioner or team member, but rather to the issues. This provides mutual respect between the board members and the public. For WebEx and kiosk participants, after stating your name and address for the clerk, the timer will begin and start a countdown. After 2 minutes, one beep will sound, letting you know that only 1 minute remains. After the time is up, 2 beeps will sound, letting you know your 3 minutes are up and you should close your comments. WebEx participants will be disconnected when their time is up, and kiosk participants will be asked to move away from the kiosks. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone signed up to speak at the WebEx?
4 people had pre-registered. However, one person logged in and now they are at the kiosk and would like to speak from the kiosk.
Okay, no one by WebEx?
I don't have anyone else logged in that have pre-registered at this time.
Okay. Is there any comments to be read in the record or
I have one email
to be read in the record?
to be read into the record.
Let's do that before we do the kiosks.
The email is from Rob Park. Address is 9614 Aaron Cutoff, Land O'Lakes, Florida, 34639. Agenda item 38, 42 Sun Lake Boulevard Project. Commissioners, I am objecting to spending this amount of money on a project to facilitate new growth in Pasco County where there are too many existing areas that needs funds to correct infrastructure deficiencies. Existing citizens are being ignored, pushed aside, and inconvenienced for the sake of new subdivisions or business. This is particularly what the Sun Lake project is for, new subdivisions and businesses. I understand growth is needed, and in most cases, the direction Pasco is going is beneficial to all, but not when existing residents' quality of life is degraded. I live on Aaron Cutoff, and it has been turned into a high-volume, high-speed shortcut, all for the sake of getting to the new subdivisions and businesses about 5 minutes faster. Aaron Cutoff is designed as a connector road, and according to the comprehensive plan, collectors do not form a continuous network and generally discouraged through traffic. There is no reason to use Aaron Cutoff. Using the State Road 52 and US 41 intersection leads to the same place and only takes about 5 minutes longer. If it is necessary to spend this amount of money for new projects, then an equal or greater amount of money needs to be allocated to correct the negative consequences of the new projects. In the case of the Aaron Cutoff, if it is so important to have a shortcut, build the Collier Parkway extension as the shortcut sooner rather than later. There are no doubt many similar roadway issues. I believe you are probably creating another shortcut issue by improving Bell Lake Road under the guise that it will be better. I asked for this objection to read aloud so that I can attend the FDOT US 41 and Carson Drive meeting at the Heritage Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's just have one person left at the kiosks.
There's, I think, 2 individuals at the kiosk. One was Kathy Julian, who had pre-registered to be on WebEx, but prefers to be in person at the kiosk.
Okay, let's have her speak first.
Hello, my name is Kathy Julian. I live in Newport Richey. I'm kind of surprised to see that 2 of our county commissioners didn't attend the meeting in person today. I thought that's part of what they were paid to do. My issue with what's going on in our county is the mask mandate. I know you were talking about it earlier. I could only catch parts of it because I was walking into the building. We went to the wrong building because the building you're in, we're not allowed to be in for some reason. I have a huge issue with the mask mandate. One of the biggest things is you guys have never voted on it, as far as I can find. You had a county administrator put it into effect. It affects all of our lives, and our elected officials couldn't even vote on it. That's distressing as a member of your community. The other thing is I'm not sure if you guys are aware of what this is doing to the youth in our community. We have a childhood friend whose son attempted to commit suicide in September because his senior year of high school was destroyed, and succeeded in committing suicide in January. His name is Dylan Buckner. You can look it up. It's become national news. That's way too close to home for me because it's a girl that I considered my little sister growing up, whose son committed suicide due to these crazy mask mandates and the lockdowns. We need to get over it and move on. Apparently, that's not anybody else's vision besides mine. And that's really all I have to say. And I appreciate you guys all ignoring me. Have a great day.
Thank you for your comments. Is someone else at the kiosk? Is anyone else at the kiosk to speak? Okay.
Do they have me up?
Yeah.
Yes, my name is Stephanie Ramirez. Basically, I just wanted to talk as well on the mask
And you
mandates.
have to state your name and your address.
Oh, 6149 11th Avenue, Newport Richey, Florida, 34653.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, so my concern is I'm a mother, and ever since these lockdowns, my concern is my children going to have a normal life? I worry on a daily basis of whether they will, still be depressed because our normal activities that we were able to do back in the day actually is not accessible to them as much as possible. Going into a business and they are asking you to wear a mask when my family feels that it's highly unhealthy for us to actually wear it. I could go into the reasons why, but I have a feeling that you guys actually do have an understanding or an idea of how wearing a mask is not only healthy, but it's unproductive. It actually does not keep you healthy. It actually, filtration-wise, literally still allows a virus cell to actually go through because the size of a virus cell is absolutely significantly more smaller than the size of a bacteria cell. So the masks don't work. We know this. It's actually been proven. Even Dr. Fauci himself has actually said it himself. So my concern as a parent, and I wonder if you guys have the same questions, is my child being affected by this? I don't know if you guys have to deal with the daily basis of trying to figure out how to keep my children happy, trying to figure out how we can take them outside and not make them depressed of having to go to these businesses that are forcing you to wear something that you know is unhealthy to wear. So I understand that there's a percentage of the population that can be affected by COVID. However, this percentage has always been a possibility affected, mainly because if they got influenza, if they got pneumonia, or anything that basically could affect or hurt them. Keep in mind, this has always been the cause. If they had underlying issues, they had a risk to actually be affected or possibly die because of it. So it's no different than pneumonia. It's no different than influenza. So I really urge you to rethink about this mask mandate because it really affects the mental well-being of our children, and that is the future of our world. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for your comments. Is anyone else at the kiosk to speak?
There's no one else at the kiosk.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that ends the public comment portion of the meeting. We now move on to the consent agenda. And I have a pull sheet. I have C37 withdraw, C48 withdraw, C19, I guess that's withdrawal. So anybody else have anything to add to the list they want to pull or comment on? If not, I'll entertain a motion approving the rest of the items.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second by roll call vote.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
4, Commissioner Fitzpatrick. Aye. District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 1, Chairman Oakley.
Aye. Motion passed. 5-0. Okay. So these items are withdrawn. We don't have to vote on
That's
those.
right.
Okay. We'll move on to the regular agenda. What time is it? Okay. We will, we'll go to R79.
Morning.
Morning.
Bob Gorrig, Pasco County Budget Director. Have the slideshow. Hi. Well, good morning. So as part of our budget process this morning, I wanted to have a discussion with you all about the fiscal 22 budget in particular. If you could go to the next slide, please. In particular, we wanted to talk about where we see the economy going next year during the fiscal year 22 budget time period, and then look at how that economy and what's happening with the economy, how we're expecting that to impact our revenues and expenditures. Next slide, please. And the next. All right, so as you may recall, when the coronavirus and the pandemic first came upon us, we experienced the economic recession, which is defined, of course, as 2 consecutive quarters of negative economic growth. And so for the first and second quarter of the calendar year, we were in this recessionary period because of the coronavirus. It's interesting to note that the depth of this economic recession was much larger than the depth of the Great Recession of the 2007, 8, 9 time period. But on the bright side, it was only 2 quarters. It was so much shorter in length than the Great Depression. And so as you can see, in the third and fourth quarter, we've experienced economic growth. So that recession in itself was one of the shortest in U.S. history, being only 2 quarters long. And so we're expecting this economic growth to continue as we begin to roll out the vaccine. And as more and more people get this vaccine, we're expecting folks to, again, come out, feel free to come outside, to engage in activities and so on. And so really, we're expecting the economy to kind of move along at kind of a very slow pace until a substantial portion of the population is vaccinated, and whether that be April, May, June, whenever that is. Once we have that substantial portion of the population vaccinated, we expect the economy to grow at a very fast pace. And I've seen some estimates that the economy in the second half of the calendar year could grow as high as 8% per year. So next slide, please. And so this is interesting. So just a little explanation on this. The first bar, the red bar, that is the year-over-year spending, consumer spending on each one of those goods in May of 2020, and the second bar would be year-over-year spending for November. And as we can see, May was when the pandemic really took hold and things began to shut down. And as you can see, food and beverages from grocery stores, right? Fewer of us were going to restaurants, we're going to the grocery stores. And so grocery stores, the sales in the grocery stores skyrocketed almost 15%. From the budgeting standpoint, most of what you purchase in the grocery store is not taxable. So this shifting our expenditures from restaurants to grocery stores was a revenue loss for us. And then the next thing you see here is non-store retailers. This is what the federal government calls online purchases. You can see the online purchases during the pandemic skyrocketed, and they continue to remain high. The only other area that has really increased here is this area of sporting goods, musical instruments, and so on. So I guess the more we're locked at home with nothing to do, the more we're spending on musical instruments and so on. So I'm expecting some really good bands coming out of this pandemic. And you'll notice the rest of these, this is really what's driving the economy. This is where we'll look in a little bit about our unemployment rate. These are the areas where we'll see that our unemployment is. We'll notice the gasoline stores, most of our sales taxes, most of our revenues have recovered during the recession, with the exception of gas tax. And so you can see here why the gas tax still remains so low. Next, please. So you can see during when the recession started, when the pandemic came along in February, March, the numbers in the little box, that's the Pasco County unemployment rate. You can see the unemployment rate in Pasco skyrocketed from 3.4% to 14%, as all of those kinds of things that we just saw in the previous slide began to shut down, the gas stations, the restaurants, the department stores, and all of those things. But since then, we see that the unemployment rate, again, dropping to about 5.2% in December, and we're expecting that unemployment rate to continue to fall during next calendar year as things begin to open up and as folks get back into the economy. Now, we're not expecting it to get back to that 3.5% rate, but still it's going to get down into the 4.5% unemployment rate. Next, please. And so luckily, we're in an area that is expected to see growth even above the national average. So if we're expecting a national growth rate of 8%, we're expecting the Tampa region to be even higher than that. And the industries that we're expecting most of the growth is in construction, this financial services, and then this other catch-all area called other services. And we have some evidence to point towards the fast-growing Tampa region. The first one you can see here, Tampa-based startups raised over $180 million in 2020. So these startup businesses have got investment from outside sources to the tune of $180 million. And that was much higher than the $129 million that was raised in 2018. And this was even during the pandemic. Next slide, please. We look at the economic small business job growth index, and we can see the #1 city on here is Tampa at almost 98%. And the only other city on here in the Florida is Miami. So Tampa is leading the nation in small business job growth. Next, please. And so a phenomenon that had begun prior to the pandemic, but was certainly accelerated during the pandemic, was this idea of corporations relocating to the south from the Northeast and from the Rust Belt, moving down in here into the Florida region. And this was just accelerated during the pandemic, where folks are trying to get out of this very crowded area and social distance down here with the rest of us. Related to this is another phenomenon that was accelerated during the pandemic, where residents are moving from the Northeast down here. And if they're anything like me, we moved down here we were tired of scraping the ice off of our windshields. And so we see a lot of that. So during the pandemic, again, folks were tired of being in crowded areas. They couldn't social distance. And so now they're moving down here for the quality of life. Next slide, please. And so what this is leading to, of course, is a shortage of homes. We can see the bottom line here, which is the existing home price. The median existing home price in the last year or so took a sharp spike, and that sharp spike generally indicates a shortage of these existing homes. And so this partially explains the reason why there's so much new construction happening in our region. Next, please. Woo. Apologize for this. This didn't turn out too well, but that is a map of Florida there. And so John Burns has looked at the housing market for the major cities in Florida, and you can see the very strong housing markets are Tampa and Sarasota, with the strong markets being in Naples, West Palm, and so on. And I think you just have to step into our building department to realize that that is probably very accurate, that the Tampa region is a very strong housing market. Next, please. So not only do we have a very strong housing market, here's evidence of that housing market. In fact, 2 of the top 50 planned housing communities in the United States, 2 of those bestsellers are right here in Pasco. That's Starkey Ranch and Bexley. Next, please. Of course, all this growth does come at a price, and that would be inflation in our area is more than double the national average of inflation. So as we're going into construction, the demand for these scarce materials is causing the prices for all these construction materials, both vertical and horizontal, to increase. And that's where, as the county, that's where we're going to see the inflation hit us the most, is in construction, both building, road construction, and that kind of thing. Next, please. So just to summarize here, we are seeing our economic indicators pointing towards strong growth in our region. And as the vaccine rolls out, as people become more comfortable getting out, we really expect the economy to really take off. Next, please. All righty, next. And so what's the impact of all this good economic news on our budget for fiscal year 22? Well, as you recall, in fiscal year 21, we were very conservative because the budgeting for this year, because the pandemic had just started, it was having an impact on our revenues, but we weren't really sure what the total impact was going to be on our revenues. And so we were really very conservative. We didn't bring on very much new spending at all. We believe because of the optimistic economic forecast that we can now turn to investing back in some of the things that our customers would expect, funding some new initiatives and so on. There is, the new stimulus bill does contain language that would allow cities and municipalities to recover lost revenues as a result of the pandemic. However, the language of the bill is not clear, and we really want to wait until we have the guidance from the Treasury Department before we make any recommendations on how we should be spending that money. Next, please. So as we talked about, new home permits. This is just single-family homes, and at the end of the year, we were seeing single-family home permits coming into the building department at record levels at 600 homes per month. And we thought, well, we are at the peak. We can't possibly get any higher. And then we turned the calendar into January, and we had almost 900 single-family homes in January. And so we expect this to continue. The important part here is that new construction is a big determinant of taxable assessed value, which is one of the inputs to our property tax revenues. So one of the things you'll note is that a new house that goes into permitting today won't reach the tax rolls for 2 years. And so if we look back, even look back to the 2020, so those new houses that were built in 2020 will be in the tax rolls for the 22 budget year. And so even in 2020, which is whatever color that is,
Purple.
purplish. So even that was a pretty strong growth. And so that's what we'll begin to see in 2 years. Next, please. And so because of the strong value construction.
Can I
Yes,
ask you a
ma'am.
question on that?
Yes.
So you're only showing new homes, but on that slide, what about permits for commercial and industrial? Is there a slide for that?
We don't have a slide for that, but we do have the information for that. And actually the permit value for commercial properties is way above where it is historically. So we have all these new homes coming in and then commercials coming in to support all the residents.
So I recall always hearing that the homes maybe don't necessarily add to the tax rolls that much as compared to the services they require. So it seems to me a really relevant number for the commission is the value of the commercial and industrial property coming online, which really adds to the tax base without taking a lot of services. So I think in the future, that's a really important number to put in here.
So Commissioner, we watch that and look at that, but you really can't break that down by month because commercial permits come in a variety of sizes and shapes. And so you could have a month where you have 25 or 30 permits in a real low value because they're all tenant improvements. That's still all new commercial. Or you could have shells, or you could have multifamily complexes. So it kind of, the data there is much harder to look at on a month per month basis.
We can do an annual.
We can do an annual, and we have that. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I'd
ma'am.
love to see that. I don't know about the rest
Yeah,
of you all.
that'd be good. That's good numbers.
Yeah, Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
if I'm not correct, wasn't 2020 up approximately 18%, 18.7% from 19 on the commercial side?
In a few seconds, I have the spreadsheet. Let me.
Yeah, I think it was about 18.7, 18.9% increase from FY19, 20, yeah.
Yeah, let's definitely
Yeah.
check that
I
trend
think-
out.
I think so.
Yeah, the 20,
I think that's a good story.
think Sally
for us
has an
to tell our
The 20
constituents.
almost doubled. The value of the
Good
commercial
numbers.
almost doubled in
I think
20
the-
from 19.
The increase
So-
in permits is what I should have stated.
Well, I'm
Yes,
interested in permits and in value.
Yeah.
yes, Commissioner, we saw a 16.7% increase in 20 above 19. And our property, the new commercial valuation was almost $600 million, and that's 106% above the 19
So
valuation.
double.
Oh,
So double.
It
600 million increase.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
No,
ma'am.
So it doubled.
It
It went from
doubled
about
from
300 million to 600 million
300 million
to
in a
600.
year.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, to 600 million in a
Yes,
year.
ma'am.
yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think in the future, those are great slides too.
yeah.
Yeah, I just, that, just keep in mind, total, while great, that's still a small very small segment of our total number, because so you're talking 600 million in the entire new construction. Let me pull it up. Was 2.6 billion. So total permitting was 2.6 billion. Only 600 of that was commercial. So the reason we watch single family is it's so much more from a volume perspective.
I know,
So-
but it's still, we've been known as a bedroom community, and I really want to tout the other parts of our growth highly. Yeah.
No, I understand. It's a lot more scattershot, so it's hard to see trends in that on a monthly basis.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a good point. In the future, we'll add those, and that's a good point, because as we meet with the rating agencies when we go out for loans, that's one of the things they point out, is that we're no longer a bedroom community here in Pasco. They're impressed with the amount of commercial, industrial that's coming online. And so because of all this building activity that's been happening since the end of the Great Recession, we are expecting taxable assessed values for fiscal year 2022 budget year to be somewhere in the 7 to 10% increase, somewhere in that range. Next, please. So next, I'd like to focus on the importance of tourism to the overall economy of the region. And so often we think of tourism as bringing in that tourism development tax. But here, as we attract more visitors to the area, you can see that those visitors spend money outside of the hotel. And in 2019, visitors to our area actually spent $500 million in our local economy. And to put that into context, tourist spend is equivalent to about 13% of our overall sales tax revenue in the region. Next, please. And so on this next slide, there's a lot happening here, but we get a weekly report, and the first chart there is our weekly occupancy rate of all hotels in Pasco, and the bottom one is the average daily revenue for all of our hotel rooms in Pasco. And here we wanted just to point out the importance of sporting events to our local economy, and you can see the Super Bowl there on that week of February 6th. Even though the Super Bowl was held in Tampa, the average daily revenue for our hotels in the area spiked in that week, exceeding where it was the year before. Next slide, please. So the next slide here shows, this is the green would be the revenues that we received from the tourism development tax in 2019. The blue with the circles is what we received in 2020. And you can see there, beginning in April, when the pandemic was really hitting us, as the travel really slowed down, you can see the difference in the amount of revenue that was brought in from that tourism development tax during the months of March, April, May, and June. Beginning in July, August, and September, it has begun to recover. And then you can see the purple line here started off well, and we expect it to do well again as the economy begins to open up. Next, please. And so half-cent sales tax revenue, this is a shared revenue with the state. This red line that we put in there, that was the monthly average revenue that we received for half-cent sales tax in 2019, which was the year before the pandemic. And then we mapped, this is the monthly revenue that we received. You'll notice in December, January, there's always a spike because of the Christmas. And the interesting thing here is in May, if you'll notice that huge dip in May, that's about $500,000 lost in just that 1 month because of the economic downturn. And then beginning again in September, we can see that those half-cent sales tax revenues are above that red line. And in fact, our January revenues were just much higher than they were the previous January. Next, please. Now we look at penny for Pasco, which again is the 1 cent sales tax. You can see the orange line there. Again, in April, May, you can see how quickly that dropped out. That was about an $800,000 loss in those 2 months in that revenue. But then beginning in June, July, we began to recover. And then as we look at the revenues again for this month, we can see, for this fiscal year, we can see that those revenues are much higher. That's that purple line, are much higher than they have been in years past. You'll notice those spikes that occur coincidentally every quarter. The reason for that is because those are internet sales tax. The state holds those and then gives them out to us every quarter. And so that's why it kind of jumps around like that. Next, please.
Interesting.
Here's our one required doom and gloom slide. Communication service tax is 1.86% of your phone bill. And we use those funds, we use that revenue to fund the 911 Emergency Operations Center. And we're losing about 3% per year on that revenue. You can see in just the last decade, the revenues have declined from about 6 million. We're expecting to be right around 4 million in fiscal '22. And so because of that loss of revenue, we are offsetting that loss of revenue with general fund dollars to keep the 911 center operating. Next, please. So we look at gas tax. So most of our other sales tax revenues have recovered. Gas tax is one that we are keeping an eye on. Again, we have the 2019 monthly average here. And this first local option gas tax, which is what we use to maintain existing roads, you can see that it is really has been struggling. We had the giant dip again in May when the pandemic was at its height. And just in January, it's just once more exceeding where it was in 2019. So we're keeping an eye on this. We'll see if this is a trend that's going to continue, whether it's actually going to continue to recover or it's just a 1 month anomaly. Next, please. So second local option gas tax. This is the gas tax that we use to build new roads, add new capacity. And as you can see, since the recession, since the pandemic hit, we've really had difficulty getting back to where we were in 2019. Next, please. So on the right side, we have the U.S. Energy's short-term energy outlook. The U.S. Department of Energy believes that usage of fuel is going to remain low until towards the end of fiscal year, calendar year 21. And for us, that's good news because that's October, and that's the beginning of our new fiscal year for 22. So we're expecting these gas taxes to at least to have recovered to where they were in the 2019-20 when we begin budgeting for our 22 budget year.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just repeat that again. You think the demand for gas will remain low for how much longer?
Well, the Department of Energy says towards the end of calendar year 21. So in the October timeframe,
How ironic it is that the gas prices continue to rise for some unknown reason, isn't it? This really doesn't, kind of contradicts why they are, but I'll leave it at that.
Very good. Next, please. And so the interesting point here is that gas tax revenues, you can see some of those are in the positive, and that's simply because we budget revenues at 95% of what we were expecting. Had we budgeted those revenues at 100%, all of those gas tax revenues would have been in the negative. Next, please. Okay, so although most of our revenues are recovering, we are expecting increased revenues coming into the next fiscal year. There are some increased expenditures we want to look at. First of all is the county share of the Medicaid. And so that is increases in the neighborhood of $300,000 to $400,000 per year. So it's up around almost $8 million a year that we pay for Medicaid here. Employee health care, as you know, health care inflation is one of the highest inflationary rates in the country, and we're certainly not immune from that. And so right now, we're planning to increase the amount we budget per employee for health care by $500. Employee retirement, we expect that to increase. The state has already mentioned, they've announced that they've increased what they call the assessment fee, which is the overhead charge for managing the employee retirement. So they've already announced an increase there, and the cost of that is $500,000 for all funds in the county. And in addition to that, we're expecting increases property tax or property insurance, workers' comp, and you can see, although we're not building 4 new fire stations this year and 2 new libraries, we've got a plan for those to come online in the future. And then the state keeps telling us we need to do this update of this thing called a comprehensive plan. So those are just some of the things that are on the horizon that we've got to fund with these increased revenues coming online. Next, please. And so finally, we just want to talk about the budget calendar and what you can expect moving forward. So May 1st is the deadline for 3 of our 5 constitutional officers for their budgets. June 1st, we will get their preliminary taxable assessed values from the property appraiser, and that will give us a pretty good idea of where we think the property revenues will be for the next year. We'll get the final assessed values from the property appraiser on July 1st, and then at your July 6th meeting, we will set the trim for the following year. And that is all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Very good report.
Just
Mr. Moore?
Hey, thanks. Just one thing I wanted to make a statement to. You mentioned about like Super Bowl weekend, for example, help sports, obviously it's help with tourism and the economy. But kudos to the county and the DMO and Center Ice and Rad Sports, because actually what happened that weekend is there was the hub, the big hub that was here for a month and a half, hockey teams from all over the nation. They were here that weekend, a Super Bowl weekend, and there was also a huge gymnastics meet that weekend here in Pasco County too. So actually, talking to the team and the DMO, what actually drove room nights up that weekend, yeah, the Super Bowl was a little bit, tiny bit, but it was really because of this huge hockey tournament that brought in over 4,500 room nights during that time, as well as the big gymnastics meet. So that goes to show you, obviously, the decisions we make here, the benefit they have to the entire community and the economy. And you mentioned sports and youth sports and these amateur sports are huge. They actually bring in more revenues than professional sports do. It's just a fact. So I did want to state that. So again, kudos to those two facilities and our DMO team. And I also want to state, and I think this, because of decisions this board has made, as well as county administration, to keep Pasco County open.
Yeah.
That's one of the big reasons. Yeah, big reasons why we're seeing the success. I know, obviously, yes, unfortunately, people are hurt, and we know that. But at the same time, good decision making, keeping the businesses open, not shutting businesses down, was a huge and positive impact on the community as a whole. That's why our current unemployment numbers are at 6 point what?
5.2.
Now we're down even more than I looked yesterday.
The national is 6.2, but
Yeah.
Pasco 5.2.
5.2. So there you go. So we're below the national average. So again, kudos to everybody. Thank you. And I know our citizens in the business community as well really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good job. Very good report, Bob.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just want to say that, the discussion earlier with the homes that we're having increase on, I think one of the great things is a high-end home, you improve your demographics, you're probably improving your workforce, and it's going to bring better retail, better employers to the area. So I think, the guys like homes actually help the tax base. I think they actually do, especially when the high end, and as the short one is going to increase it, but it does make it more marketable. And Commissioner, I think the points are right on the mark as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
You said the cell phones for the 911s were going down 3.2%.
Yes.
How can we raise those numbers, or why are they going down so much? Because more and more people have cell phones nowadays.
The reason for the decline is, first of all, it's a favorite topic of our state legislature. So every legislative session, they're taking something away from that. And at the same time, there's fewer devices that are taxed. So although everyone has a cell phone, we no longer have fax machines. We don't have a phone in our house. And so the number of devices that are subject to this tax is declining as we move forward.
So is the
Commissioner,
fees price actually going down per device, or you're saying there's just, because more people seem to have cell phones now, and there's usually 5 people having a cell phone in a house compared to one house phone. So is the unit rate less than what it was before?
It's the same tax rate, but there are fewer devices that are subject to that tax. And then as we have our folks who move to the area, they come down and they keep their old phone number. And so those phone numbers, the state doesn't know that they're local, and so they're not charged that tax.
So on the, Commissioner,
Yes,
on the cell phones, on the mobile devices, the CST is charged based on the zip code of the billing address for those devices. So if you're paying by a credit card, so those that come down in the winter, if they're paying by a credit card with a billing address in another state, they don't get charged Florida sales tax, communication sales tax, because they're getting billed based on where their billing address is to that account. So there is a pretty big gap there.
Is there a way we can change, I guess, legislative, that if they're using our cell towers, so it's based off cell towers instead of being based off of their billing?
That's something that we can bring up with
Yes,
governmental folks? I mean,
yeah, and I think we should bring that up at FAC. I mean, that seems like a common sense change.
Yeah, this has been a topic of discussion that we, the county, has taken to Tallahassee every year I've been here.
Yeah.
You know, and so, and we continue to see this. There really isn't an appetite in the legislature for, at least recently, for making an adjustment.
Yeah, there's so many people that
That
live
should be on our agenda.
have out-of-state phone numbers, so they really need to be paying the 911s in this area, not.
And one, and again, I have an out-of-state phone number, but my billing address is in Pasco County, so I pay in Pasco County.
I was
So
gonna
where my
ask
billing
you.
address is. Okay, so it's based on the billing address of how you're billing your however you're billing, whether you're paying via credit card or bank or whatever, it's based on that address, your service address. And if your service address is in another state, then that's where you're getting charged. And most of them, if they would change their address to Florida, actually you'd see a reduction in the sales tax on their bill, because most of the northeastern states charge more than the state of Florida does on their bill.
Oh. Well, maybe cell towers or something.
Very good.
okay.
Very
Thank
good
you.
report, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we'll move to, I think we're moving to 114, 140.
144 or 144?
Mr. Sherman?
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to bring forward for confirmation the appointment of Mr. Roy Major as our Building and Construction Services Director for Administration. Mr. Major comes to us with a plethora of experience in both public and private sector.
Thank you.
He has served with St. Johns River Water Management. He's worked for Hillsborough County and WRE. He is a licensed engineer, also a certified planner. It is with pleasure that I bring him here today. And as you were asking questions regarding the status of permitting activity within the department, I did include that information as a part of this agenda because we do realize that we have a lot of challenges with service delivery when we're experiencing an unprecedented amount of work that is being presented to us as a branch. And we are working extremely hard to keep that work level up. We're excited that just in my meeting Monday with the team, we had brought our turnaround time on our single-family residential permits from in December, it was 18 days. We're now down to 13 days. Our level of service that the industry is looking for is 10 days, and we're working towards that. I feel that with Mr. Major's talents with regard to change management, which is what I feel is important and incumbent upon us to address with service delivery, looking at processes, and also enhancing our level of service. He brings those skills to our team. And Mr. Major is here to answer any questions that you may have, if you so choose. With that said, I'll answer any questions that you may have of me.
We're just very happy to have you here.
Yep. I was gonna finish that after we get, I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Okay,
go ahead.
second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor by roll call vote?
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 1, Chairman Oakley.
Aye. And with that, congratulations and welcome aboard. I've known Roy for 12, 15 years anyway. He actually, one of the things he did for me at Swiftmud when I was chair there is he set me up for throwing out the first pitch at the Indians game in Lakeland. So.
So he got
But I thought he was with Swiftman.
But he was with Swiftmud. Yeah, Catherine was there at the
I'm
same
sorry, I
time.
said St. John's. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I was thinking
Okay.
of a northern.
Because I was
Don't
there
you
for many years
recognize
as
him?
well.
So,
It
And
was
Mr.
with
Chairman,
mom, I'm sorry.
We look forward to his talents and help with the team because he's a very good addition to the team and we need that. So
Excellent. Welcome.
it's very
Very
good.
excited.
Welcome.
And I would
You
be
would come
remiss
speak
not
to
to
us.
thank the ACAs, the other assistant county administrators for helping me with the search and review and interviews for this opportunity.
Mr. Chairman,
Come
Dr.
forward,
Brown,
talk to us. Commissioner Mariano?
I just want to welcome as well. I think it's Sally, you're doing a great job. I think this gentleman is going to be such a tremendous addition to the team. I'm very excited to have him on board, and great job with everybody that helped you interview to bring this great gentleman with us.
Yep. Thank you.
I really appreciate the kind words, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the kind words, and I'm ecstatic to be here. You know, I'm just looking forward to get going, and you know.
If you're ecstatic to be here, we're just as excited to have you here.
Me and Sally and the team, and you know, this is the opportunity of a lifetime, and I just can't wait to get going.
I need your cell phone number.
Not yet.
Careful with that.
I understand.
I know other ways to get
Me
it.
and Sally. Me and Sally.
Get a beeper instead. Just to be safe.
It was pretty interesting when Sally first called me about him last week, and she mentioned Roy Major, and I thought a minute, and we were talking on, and next thing I said, Roy Major? Like that. And I recognized it. I said, I think I know him. So, but
Lot of
he's a great,
Majors around.
great addition to the team that we have here at Pasco, and will improve along with all of our staff. Doing a great job. Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Anything else? Okay. Good. It is, I've got 5 minutes.
Is he doing it virtually?
I think the intent was he was going to be here in person.
Okay.
So,
So we
which
can
is
go
fine.
ahead
So if you want to start miscellaneous business, and then you can break when you get to it.
Okay, we'll start with old business.
All right.
Mr. Moore?
Thank you, sir. Hey, first item of business, there are 2 parcels available on the list of lands available for taxes that are currently needed by the county. Talked with county administrator, county attorney's office. They asked if I would bring this forward during miscellaneous business today so we can get it on. They're available to anyone who, so you know if these list of lands available for taxes are available to anybody that wants them. So it's important that we get this done today. One is for $7,400. One is for $4,100. The first one is for a future project, and the second one is needed to be able to maintain the existing right-of-way. So I'll read through this, but if the board is interested, and hopefully they are, I'll make a motion to approve these. The first parcel is, let me go to my larger writing because it's hard for me to say. I would ask to approve the county's purchase of parcel numbers 23-23-21-000000-0010 in the amount of $7,343.78. And the second would be parcel number 34-25-18-000-00200-0027 in the amount of $4,095.91. Funding for the first parcel in the amount of the acquisition cost is available in the Public Infrastructure Engineering Services, Road and Street, Land Row, Lacucci Row Improvements, Project 20366, and that's roll-up code 727549. And the funding for the second parcel and the amount of the acquisition cost is available in project number RPM-00, Roads Program Maintenance under roll-up code 26937. The first one is on the east of State Road 575. It would be needed for the future realignment of the intersection of State Road 575. It's 0.33 acres and near the Pine Products Road in SR 575. And the second one is the bend at Causeway Boulevard. Staff will be bringing a resolution at the next meeting to bring Causeway Boulevard into the county's road system for maintenance. This is the southwest corner piece with the bend, and the acquisition of this parcel will be provided the space they need to maintain that section of road and possibly improve the safety of that corner. Bottom line is, they're there now. Somebody could grab them if that were to happen, you may run into a situation, now it's going to cost us more because we're going to have to go to the row process, the row acquisition process, or, you actually could get to the point where you have to do an eminent domain, and that costs a lot more.
Right.
So if there's any questions, feel free to ask me,
We have a second.
Mr. Biles, or Mr. Steinschneider. But that's a motion, if I could have a second.
Okay, the motion and a second by roll call vote.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 1, Chairman Oakley.
Aye. Motion passed 5-0.
Good, thank you, sir. Hey, library grants. I want to congratulate our library team on 2 items that were approved on consent today from the Florida Department of State and Division of Library Services. First, there was one for a books by mail program for homebound residents who can't get to a library. That's great, obviously not just during COVID, but for our seniors and our homebound people as a whole. The second is for a mobile makerspace. And those were items C68 and C69. Combined, there was a little over $70,000 in grants for those programs. So Kathy Pearson, please congratulate the library teams for all their great work on getting that. Anytime we can get those grants and save our taxpayers dollars here locally, that's a positive. Also, another kudos, there was a central permitting audit recently. It was a clean audit, so it was on C4. So the clerk's office conducted the unannounced audit of the cash funds in central permitting. It was completely clean, no findings or suggestions. Even the forms were all up to date and filled out properly. So Charlotte Sherman, if you could tell your team and pass on our appreciation for their great work that they did, and thank you to their clerk for all the efforts and work you did too. One last thing, trying to get through it before I don't see the senator here now.
He's here.
Oh, he is? Oh, there he is. Hi.
Waiting
Hey, Senator.
on you.
Okay, real quick. Just 2 last things. The United States Premier Hockey League season has come to an end. That was a great event at Advent Health Center Ice. Just a large number of teams that put in about 4,500 room nights here in Pasco County because of them being here. They stayed at Saddlebrook, and obviously, as you know, whether it be Saddlebrook or any of our other hoteliers, this was a very big need for them to have these heads in beds. I spoke to the league commissioner. I dropped a puck one day. They're great people. They're very, very thankful to Pasco County for staying open, and that's what he said. We were sitting in a meeting with him, and he said, thank you, thank the governor, thank the rest of the commissioners and all the county employees for staying open so we could come here, because if you weren't open, we don't know what we would do. And there was a couple other options, but they preferred to be here in Florida and be in Pasco County. So we're very, very grateful for them. I talked to some of the kids too around. They were like, well, you don't want to go back to the north. we want to stay in Florida. Well, we would love that. We would love to have you here year round. I was going to talk about the CRA thing, but I'm going to go ahead since the senator's here. Well, we'll move on, and maybe I'll just throw that back out at you guys after the break.
Sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Fasano, time for you. And welcome to the BOCC.
Oh, good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
We're always
Commissioners,
happy to
thank
have you here.
Is it okay to remove this?
Yes, sir.
A little more than 6 feet. Well, first, I want to thank you for allowing me to come. I won't be but a few minutes this morning. I want to thank your county attorney and his staff and addressing one of the issues that we had brought to your attention, and that was dealing with the business tax receipt issue that we, of course, here in Pasco County. We were hoping that we could make some changes to it. I understand, and reading what the county attorney sent to me, that would be difficult because of the laws that were put in place, and it's very almost impossible to make any changes. And I was probably there when we made those changes, but of course today I wish there would be an opportunity for the county to address it. It's so archaic. I believe that it's extremely difficult. 2, I think it's unfair that someone that opens a business up with a gardening or a lawn and gardening service is paying at sometimes the same rates, if you will, that like a Walmart is paying. And I think sometimes it's unfair, but there's not much that can be done. I'm hoping that maybe you can look deep and see if there's anything that can be done to make it better. I also would ask you that if we're going to have a business tax receipt requirement in Pasco, let's enforce it. I'm here to help in any way I can. And I'll give you a perfect example. when you were extremely generous in providing money to businesses late last year after the COVID situation. The county got money and you were very generous giving out money to Pasco businesses. One of the requirements was to have a business tax receipt. We were overwhelmed. Overwhelmed by businesses that were in place here in Pasco County for years. They realized when you saw the application that you required them to fill out to get this assistance that they had to have a BTR. So we picked up some new businesses at that time when they didn't realize they needed one. I don't know if it's lack of education. I don't know if it's lack of, they don't care. But in my opinion, you have still a lot of businesses out there. Many think they don't need one. Our staff, of course, our tax department hears from people, the little guy and gal, the small businessman and woman who call us daily, who want to make certain they do it right and to see if they need a BTR. Most people do need a BTR, most businesses. There are some exceptions, of course. And I would also ask you this, when we do find a business that has not had one for years, they're not even a Pasco resident but own a business in Pasco, let's not give them a slap on the wrist. And a fine should be appropriate. If you're going to have them, if you're going to fine them, let's make sure it sticks. Because I believe then people will say to me, well, why bother having one? I get one every year. I pay my renewal. Here's a company, the big company that makes a lot of money. They find out they don't have one. They get a slap on the back of the wrist. Why bother should I then renew my business tax receipt? And so I would only ask you that if we're going to have it, let's make sure that you would consider, of course, making sure that it works and not just giving a slap on the back of the wrist of those who are avoiding it or not even asking a question. Heck, you're not even supposed to be opening a business in Pasco County without proof that you have a BTR. And yet we have businesses today in Pasco that do not have one. I don't have the resources. I don't have the staff to run up and down US 19 or Little Road or Land O'Lakes Boulevard to find out who has one or not. I would love to do that because I know we'd find many. So anyway, with that said, I want to also thank you. Thank you and Dan Biles, your health department. The leadership on this commission is second to none. I was saying to Dan the other day that I wish other counties would have followed your lead on how to deal with providing vaccines to our county residents. When you read and hear about the disasters that are going on throughout the state, there's no better place to be than in Pasco County. You've done it right. Our county health department has done it right. Our EOC staff, they've done it right. The way you've gone into the different 55 and older communities, man, that's just wonderful. And I hear from those seniors every day. They are so happy to have someone come into their community and be able to give them that vaccination, that vaccine to make them feel, you know, someone cares about them and it's working. And I read and hear about it all the time. And I would hope that the rest of the state would maybe take a lesson of what you've done, what Pasco County has done, what our Department of Health and our EOC has done to make people safer in this community. And we thank you for that. So God bless you all. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Yeah. I'd say lunch is on me, but never mind.
Good to see you.
Yes, ma'am.
I recall you and I having a conversation a number of years ago about the BTRs, which used to be called, I think, occupational license.
That's correct.
fee.
Many years ago.
And
I got one when I opened up, when I used to do lawns and sprinkler systems when I was a little kid. Yeah.
And I think there's been some confusion ever since.
Yes, ma'am.
But I remember being in a meeting with, I can't remember his name, the person who was kind of in charge of economic development, the tall guy with the mustache,
Yeah.
Richard Gehring.
Oh, yeah.
And he had done analysis of the BTRs and how many businesses are. There was such a humongous discrepancy. Mr. Fasano is absolutely right that we have the majority, I would say, of businesses do not have a BTR. So I'm wondering if we can help that along by, you know, if we're collecting some kind of taxes, they have to be registered with the state. They just don't come in and register with us. So is there some way that we can reconcile that? Dan, I don't even know what department that would be. But is there a way to get a list of those who don't have the BTR?
Can we cross-reference them to
Right.
sunbiz.org?
Seems like there should be a way to cross-reference.
Well, you can, Mr. Chairman, so if you have a business, you should be registered with the state,
Right, the tax
right?
receipt.
Not all businesses, Commissioner, that's
ID
a
number.
great question. Not all businesses are registered with the state. If you don't need a state license,
Right.
you know, and if you're not using a fictitious name, you don't need to register with the state.
Okay.
That's where the killer
That's true, yeah,
is.
because if you're not, obviously, if you're not incorporated or have an LLC in the state of
Right.
Florida, right? I mean, that's one way you could cross-reference.
Right.
But if not, if you're not filing your articles of incorporation every year in the state of Florida, obviously,
Sure.
you're right, you run into that. And then you can, but there's also the sales tax, right?
Right.
So who's registered for sales tax? But not everybody's paying sales tax, as we know.
I found that I was talking to Dr. Zingali, of course, the head of the Department of Revenue, great guy.
Yeah.
And he was telling me there's still a few businesses in Pasco that are charging
Yeah.
the higher sales tax. But he said, not to worry, Fasano, Pasco is getting it. We're making sure of that.
That's good
So
to
you're
hear.
getting a little bit
That's-
of bonus,
that's good to
but
hear.
yeah,
Learn about it.
yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's good to
But
hear.
I do think there's a way that we can cross-reference and then send out a nice little letter or figure out some way, but maybe we do some kind of PR campaign, but I do think people should be complying, and it's not fair to when the little guys are and the big guys aren't.
Yes, ma'am.
So-
I
and
totally
What
agree.
is the fee? Because it's not that much.
It ranges on the amount of employees you have, what kind of business you have. And I'll give you a perfect example. You could have, let's say, a medical doctor. He or she needs a business tax receipt, but if they go to like if they go or belong to 5 different offices, each one of those offices need a business tax receipt. Yeah,
Each
Yeah.
location.
each location. That's
Well, we
correct.
can all help, you know, whenever we go into a business, just ask and let them
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
All the county employees, you know.
Well,
when
it-
go in.
You don't see my name on the little thing up in the
Right, yeah, right.
You don't see.
Right.
They don't got one.
Thing right
Yeah.
It's
But it's not
supposed
his
to be
here.
displayed.
Yeah.
Where is it supposed to be displayed at?
It
Right when
needs
you
to be
walk in?
displayed as soon as you walk in. It has to be displayed visibly where normally they put it where you're, checking out, cashing out your ticket or whatever, but it has to be clear that you have a business tax receipt. Yeah. They're not at that. I mean, it's not like they're thousands of dollars,
For
you know?
$13.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
To 75.
Yeah, it's
so
not, Mr. Chairman. So it's not, and I hate to say it, it's not uncommon, and without naming a business, obviously. But I was doing, it wasn't in Pasco, but I was doing some consulting a few years back for a business in Hillsborough County, and I was, I'm trying not to give it away, right? I was working with them on some contracts and things, and with that, they needed to submit their either occupational license or business tax receipt. Well, they're like, we've never had one. I go, oh no,
Yep.
you need one. And this was actually, and they were within the city of Tampa. So they actually needed one for the city of Tampa and Hillsborough County both, if I'm not correct, back then. And they didn't have one either. And this was a very large organization. We didn't know we needed one.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, well, you can't go forward with this unless you go get one. So I highly suggest you truck on down to the tax collector's office and get one, or you're not getting this other business that you're going after.
You are so right. How many times we'll have gotten a call, especially when that new, they call it the Tampa Mall. It drives me crazy. The mall in Wesley Chapel, I call it.
The premier.
But
The outlets, yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I want to go one night and change the sign.
But do it together.
How many businesses from there would call us up and say, now they're calling from their corporate office.
Yeah.
They're ready to open up their major store in that area and they don't have a BTR. We've had to tell people, do not open that office up. They've had to send people, one of their employees, to the tax collector's office down the street, our Wesley Chapel office, to get a BTR so they could open up as they announced, because they had announced they were going to have a grand opening that day. Totally clueless. Yeah.
Is there a letter or a flyer, a standard letter and a flyer that we can post?
It's a great question. In my opinion, I don't think someone should get a CO until they show proof that they have a BTR. I think that's I don't know if it can be done legally, the county attorney, but it would be something that would be required to get your final CO, that you have to show that you have your BTR if it's required. I think with
Technically-
businesses right there.
Technically, the building official has to issue a CO if it complies with the Florida Building Code.
Gotcha.
And we can't
You can't.
add requirements
We can
onto
hand
that.
them something, a form,
Yep.
something.
Yeah.
Need a packet or something.
Or, as part of the process, just inform them,
Right.
give them something.
And just so you know, it's approximately $600,000 to the county that you get in business taxes. And if we're all correct, which I think we are, where we have many that do not have one, it's monies out there that taxpayers are not receiving, you know?
And it's good for us to know,
Yes.
it helps us with demographics of the county, I think, as well.
Well, and then, yeah, you're right. One last thing, because I know you need to go. But you made a statement earlier, and I agree with this. Either it's everyone or don't do it at all.
Correct.
So make a choice, right? I mean, either you get rid of it totally, or we make sure everybody's compliant, because it's not fair to, again, especially like you mentioned, the 1 and 2 person mom and pop place. I have one for a consulting business,
Sure,
you know?
sure.
And
And by the way, you're
show.
paid
I don't
on
know if I
time.
need it for real, but this one, because I might even be, but I still have one, right? But you're right. I mean, so everybody plays, or we don't do it at all.
Right. It does help sometimes with the sheriff's department, as you know, business tax receipt. It also, I think having a business registered in some form or fashion with the county helps a lot as well. If somebody complains about a business and you find they don't have a BTR, right away they're in violation of your county ordinance or county code. God bless you all. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Keep up the good work. Appreciate it.
All right.
All right, let's fit it, last 2 things and I'll be done.
I got a
Well,
lot
I
of-
wanted to let the senator go, so we didn't have to.
The last thing you had.
Yeah, just wanted to mention that county administrator you're going to the meeting tonight, if they have it?
Yes.
Okay, back to the CRA, which we talked about many a times, and Commissioner Starkey obviously brought up last time too. Just as a reminder, one of the statements I just want to make sure, and I know you'll handle this, is that they made a statement in that meeting that they didn't have the authority to change the boundaries, which they do. So hopefully they've listened and watched this and included that in the notes and realized that they are the ones that change the boundaries. It's not the
Didn't they
state
see the
that changes the
example from
boundary.
Newport Richie?
Well, that's what we use to explain that to them as well. So, there's one street in Port Richey that has a higher taxable value than the 2 neighborhoods that Newport Richey pulled out. Just one street. So you need, yeah, of course. So, and then last thing, just again, kudos to the team, to Chief Asa, his team, his CERT team, Mike Napier, for the excellent job they've been doing, especially in the 55 and up communities. I know we all get them, but I get emails all the time or calls. Thank you so much. I'm like, well, don't thank me. I'll pass on your thanks to somebody else that was actually there doing the job. My wife, actually, I'll thank her. She was actually giving vaccines this weekend. She volunteered to give vaccines on Saturday for school board employees and the sheriff's office. So many people out there, whether it be nurses or MAs or paramedics, EMTs and such, that are out there doing this on a daily basis. They're the ones that are putting the shots in the arm. So thank you to all of them. So thanks.
That's it.
Me?
All right.
Okay, I've got
Ms.
a
Starkey?
little list here. First, just a comment about the HRE. I know, I think this board is, and I'm not sure if you know what that is, but that's it's kind of a team that we have that combines the county attorney's office and the development services office together, building department, to go after high returns on buildings and residences that need to be knocked down, that are unsightly, dangerous, become havens for criminal activity. And it's been working really, really well. I just recently was given a sheet of a lot of the statistics of what they've accomplished. And I'm hoping we keep that good program going and it doesn't get dismantled or changed. But I do have one suggestion for the HRE team and for us. And this came up when we knocked down the old Helen Ellis walk-in building on US 19. It took us 5 years to get the owner of the building, who was a doctor in Texas, to sign on or to take it down, because he took it down, the county did not. But what happened after that was a couple months ago or a month ago, it turned into a homeless camp right on 19, not in the woods, not hidden from view, but right next to a bunch of existing buildings, right there in plain view of the whole world. It turned into a homeless camp. It was freaking all the businesses out around it. We were concerned it was going to take a long time to get that doctor to respond again. But fortunately, actually, the sheriff's office was able to contact him quickly, and they were able to make everyone leave. I have not gone back yet to see if we've cleaned up all the trash that piled up on that lot. But something that came out of this whole episode is that whenever we condemn and take down a property, part of that process also needs to be a no trespassing sign or signs and a registration with the sheriff's office, so we don't have to make it a two-step process. It's all done at the same time. Because that could have been a disaster for us if we had to wait, to get the doctor to respond like last time. And if it took a year, if it took even 6 months to get a no trespassing sign on that property, it was bad. So, okay. So I was approached by the Civic Association in Gulf Harbors. Actually, this has come to me a couple times, and they want to put signage on the back of the canals, especially for, say, emergencies or addresses. You can't, when you're on a canal, you don't know what street you're on, and so they asked the county if they could make street signs similar to what we have on the street and have someone volunteer to put it on their property in the back, so you know what that street is behind on that house. Frankly, I remember when our code enforcement had a boat and was going through Gulf Harbors, they had no clue what address they were looking at when they saw violations. It was very difficult for them. So we did get an email from staff that said that was something we could not do, and I'm not sure why. And maybe, I don't know if that's law, but I would like you to look into this a little more, if you don't mind.
Can you forward me the email? Because I've not seen that.
Sure. And we even said, well, we'll pay for the signs. And I adopted my street. If one person puts it on there, at least you know what street you're on when you see an issue in the back of someone's house.
Oh, understand.
So I'll forward that. Huh?
Mr. Chairman, or
Yes, sir.
Commissioner, I mean, if they're, see, they probably don't have any public property anyways. You're gonna have to go back in somebody's yard, probably where the sign's going. So I mean, if somebody wants to put a sign like that in their back,
post or something.
somebody wants to put it in their backyard, shouldn't they be able to put it in their
I don't-
backyard?
Looking for an official county
Like I said, I
road
don't
sign.
know. I need to see.
But if they're willing to, I'm just saying, if they're willing to pay for it, they can just give you the dimensions and who to call to have them made. If somebody wants to put it in their backyard and you got in the Civic Association and everybody agrees on the size and the style, it's like no difference than putting a little something in your backyard, right? I mean, it's.
So, and for health and safety, I think it's good. It's a good idea to
I think
have
it's a great idea.
identification from the back as well.
I've seen homes with them and they have the addresses on their seawalls.
Yeah. So, and I think some places may require it. So, again, also I've asked for manatee signs to be placed out there in Gulf Harbors because I'm watching them get run over. I am personally watching them get hit. It's very disturbing in high tide. And a no wake sign, and I haven't got that back, and I know it's been like 6 months. Another issue that I want to bring up again is I drove by the parking lot at Suncoast and 54, and we still have only one porta potty. So I want to make a request from this board, and I would show you the picture of what that one looks like, but I'm not going to discuss it before lunch. This is the trailhead at Suncoast and 54.
Oh.
It's absolutely horrifying. And so I'm going to ask that we take out of reserves money to put one more porta potty for the women only at Suncoast and 54 until they figure out something else.
It's
Because
a cleaning.
I'm done waiting.
It's a cleaning cycle, and we're accelerating the cleaning.
Women need their own. I'm sorry, y'all are messy. Right? Women.
Can we label them?
Who wants to go in a porta potty that
Legally
men
allowed
have
to
You don't need to. You don't need to do that. We'll work on that. We don't
I've
need-
heard that already. Why can't we have two? No, really, when you have 100 people an hour using that thing, you can't, we really do
I
need
think
to.
Parks is working on it.
I'm gonna make a
get-
motion that we get another porta potty at Suncoast and 54. Will
I'll
someone second that?
Yeah, I'll second.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Call for the
Got a
vote.
motion and
How
a
much
second?
could it possibly be?
What?
I said, because how much could that
It,
possibly?
it,
$1,000?
Commissioner, we can handle it.
I don't trust you guys anymore. I've been asking for a long time to have that bathroom facility fixed and nothing's ever happened. And I'm getting lots of complaints. So I think if we have two,
Who
the
looks after
chances are
that,
you
Dan?
can go into one that's cleaner than the other.
Who
All right,
looks
we have
after
two
that, Dan?
motions.
What's that?
Who looks after
That's
that?
Parks.
The parks?
We have a motion and a second, Mr. Chairman.
I know.
All the vote.
All right. We have a motion and a second by roll call vote.
District 2, Commissioner Moore. District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 1, Chairman Oakley.
I'm not gonna leave you by yourself.
Thank you.
Aye.
2 bathrooms at Suncoast and 54. Okay, just,
Motion passed, by the way.
thank you. Just like Senator Fasano was saying about the BTRs, I'm going to say that we have a real problem. I brought this up before with the lack of landscaping. And I'm going to show you again in a month or two what I'm talking about. But I want you guys to pay attention when you're driving
Is it a
around.
particular business?
It's everybody. It's everybody.
All new
When
businesses?
when the
or what?
landscaping goes in, and we worked very hard, and there's a real, you know, when a new building comes in and it looks so nice, it really is good for the county. But when we let them take out all their trees 1 year later, and the hedge disappears and everything's gone, we're back to where we were in 1970. And I encourage you to drive down State Road 54 or State Road 52 and look at what's happening when we don't enforce our ordinance. So we've been sending out letters, and they don't, right now, they don't have a lot of teeth. We have a few that have responded. I'm going to send out we're going to start sending out other letters to the database we're building and say second notice. But at some point, I think, you know, if we don't require them to keep their landscaping or maintain it, let's just go back to, you know, how we looked in the 60s and 70s, and there was say you don't have to put any landscaping in because it looks really bad. You'll have a bush here and then nothing, and then a bush over here and one tree and then a dead tree and then 50 feet of nothing. It's I don't understand why we're not enforcing it, and I think it's a real problem. So then lastly, I'm going to be going to Tallahassee next week and meeting with Department of DOE in the governor's office on an appropriation we have going through for AM skills, but also on some county stuff. So I don't know if anyone else is going up. So,
I'll be going with
but
you.
I'll be up there the 16th and the 17th, back on the 18th. And that coincides with our FACT legislative day. So, okay, that's it for me.
Okay.
A
Christina?
screenshot of this as well. Okay, so I had a few. I appreciate the staff coming together, and I did go on the Ridge Road Extension tour. I'm looking forward to being able to drive on it and during the summer months. I would like to recognize Gina in our office. She went above and beyond for one of our citizens in Pasco County. So I'd like to thank her. Now, the vaccines as of March 15th, The executive order will be shifting the age requirement downward. Floridians eligible for the coronavirus vaccine under the state policy will be long-term care facilities and staff, people 60 and older, frontline healthcare workers, and sworn law enforcement. This is going to include K through 12 teacher employees or employees for kindergarten through 12th grade, and firefighters age 50 or older. So we are expanding. And I know they're also expanding the locations from Publix and Walmart, Sam's Club, CVS, and other locations as well are coming on board to help vaccinate. I know you, Commissioner Starkey, you mentioned the high return enforcement. I do know Graffiti Beach on Ridge Road, the owners will be tearing down their building.
Which one?
Graffiti Beach on 19,
Oh, that old
right
club
near,
thing?
yeah, across from the old Publix and near Congress.
Nice.
So that will be done by May 1st. I would like to thank Sally and her staff. I noticed the Walmart, their parking lot has been getting cleaned up, as well as, I do have to follow up with Mass and Congress, but I believe they had cleaned that up area as well. We do have, going back to different businesses and their landscaping, we do have the Commercial Redevelopment Landscape Grant Program. It is $20,000 for a business. I do have a question on, it is for commercially zoned unincorporated areas, but a lot of our areas on 19 are incorporated. So how can we help? Do the incorporated areas have their own program that can address?
It would be the cities.
City would take care of that.
So they have programs like this? Okay, because I want to make sure it's not just,
I don't
they
know what
are
kind
in
of program
Pasco
they have, but
County,
yeah. the city
and a
would
lot
do
of the issues are in 19, and a lot of the 19 areas are in the incorporated areas. So they wouldn't be eligible for the grant, but they are part of Pasco, so we do need to figure out how to beautify those areas as well. I would like to also, I know I spoke to someone, what staff, to just maybe just even expand it to the entrances of different communities. So some of these communities that are older, if we can have a beautification day for the entrances of different communities. And I know I've spoken to Attorney Jeff, if we can expand that area as well, just to beautify up and down 19. And lastly, I would like to thank staff for working diligently and getting our armed force flags on the dais. Hopefully this can honor our heroes. It can say thank you for our active military, our veterans, and their families for all of the sacrifices that they've made for the United States, for our country. So thank you again. And I'm excited. Maybe we can all get a photo after.
They're here. I didn't know if you noticed that you came in a little late, but we
Oh,
got
yes,
me.
I noticed.
We're missing the Coast Guard flag, but
Yes.
it's coming in.
I was counting them, but thank you.
Hey, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just you made a statement about some municipalities. That's one of the things they can actually use their CRA fund. Mr. Stein started shaking his head. Yeah, they can actually use their CRA funds for that because that constitutes a blighted area. So they have the ability to use those funds that they essentially receive from the county to do those things, whether it be landscaping, beautification, whatever they may do. So when we talk about Sierra funds and how they should be used, that's one way they should be used.
Can we stipulate?
We can't
so
stipulate
much?
anything. We can't do that.
No, we
Unfortunately,
can't
yeah, we
say
tried.
how much money has to go towards.
No.
Now, unfortunately, we have no authority over that via. Now we can. That's one of the things you can always talk to your legislators about when they look to make changes with the CRA. That would be, but it would have to go through the state legislature to make any changes of stipulations, I should say.
Okay. Well, a lot of our traffic is on 19, but a lot of our 19 is incorporated. So
Yeah, you're right. No, you're
how
right.
do we
But
address
if you're having
and beautify?
if you're having conversations, with people from the cities, you can, always bring that up and they can use those funds for
Oh,
that.
thank you. I think I've mentioned everything on my agenda.
Question on something you brought up. Are these flags also on the other side?
They will be.
Okay.
I don't know if they're there because I'm not there, but they will be.
I'm
They just
sure.
brought those in this morning, so they barely made our meeting. So, but I would think they're ordered from the other side also. So, Mr. Mariano,
Thank you, Eric, again, for working hard on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to say, Commissioner Stark, you brought up a good point about landscaping, how we need to make sure we take care of our properties. On Little Road Park Library doesn't have landscaping on it, so I think, Mr. Bowles, if you could take a look at that, that would be something to do, especially if we do improvements.
Remodel.
Library down the road, remodel.
That'll be done as part of the remodel.
Okay. On Green Key Boulevard, the city's got some property, and there's some actually a county property abutting where they got a development coming in. I think it's time we take a close look at that and maybe bring something back to the board on it. That's an ideal place to actually have a nice ride out to the beach. You can see a sunset out there. Right now, the road is very bad. There's enough room on some areas. We could put a trail out there as well. So we could take a look at doing that and bringing something back at some point. I think it'd be good. I want to thank Parks Department for putting in the agenda item we approved today for a small boat ramp up at Sun West. I think it's going to be a good help. And those who didn't get out there, I didn't get out there, obviously. But the Shrimp and Crab Fest was a great success, great weather, and another event coming up on March 20th. And on the septic sewer program, that's staff have done a report on. Two areas came out very highly scored. One was at Elkers and the other was at Sea Pines, and staff is working on some grants for that. So keep that coming up. And one thing, I think we heard two people today talking about the mask ordinance. I've got a lot of information coming in. I got a lot of people still not about it. I'm happy to see Texas is leading the way with about 20 other states about getting rid of it. And I say getting rid, they still recommend it, but they don't make it mandatory. I would like to know if anyone on the board have any second thoughts about changing that mask ordinance. All right. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
all right, thank you. Ms. Starkey, you had one other thing?
I did, and sent it to,
Eric.
to put up, and it's a article from Tampa Bay Business Journal. Did you not get it from Derek? About 10, 15 years ago?
Is it the Tampa Bay Business Journal article about M skills? Yeah, yeah.
Just want to show you, I don't know if you guys saw, but the last.
It needed to be sent to Jordan. Yeah, it needed to be sent to Jordan over on the other side.
Derek, who'd you send it to? Tracy? This
They
one
come
of
back
Tampa Bay Business Journal is about Pasco County. And they did a nice, very nice article. And, our administrator had a very nice article in there as well. And talked about, kind of very, admirably, I guess. So if you guys have to make sure that you.
There you go, it's up now.
And we want to invite all the commissioners to come take a look. I was just there yesterday for the board. VIP, so that's what it looks like now. That is the Polish American Club. And I recall having a spaghetti dinner there years ago. Some kind of fundraiser. But take a look at the Tampa Bay Business Journal, and I think the county has a subscription. I know, you don't, we can give you access to, you have to sign in. You don't have a hard copy, so we don't have the articles, but there are a bunch of articles about Pasco in the journal. Right?
Okay, thank you. Mr. Biles?
Yes, sir, I have a few things this morning, although I think y'all covered several of them already. Port Richey meeting tonight, the list of lands, there were 2 items. I know the senator was here, I didn't get a chance to thank him before he bolted, but Mike Napier identified the fact that we have people in lines for vaccines and testing. So why don't we get them some information? So he reached out. Kathy's team put together some, one-page pamphlets to hand out, and the senator's team actually printed them for us so that the health department can hand out information of what's going on in the county to the people that are in line for vaccines. So that was a team effort there, and he bolted before I got a chance to thank him publicly, but their team helped us out with that. Really appreciate that. An interesting note, tomorrow will be 1 year since we had the first positive COVID case in Pasco County. The 12th will be the day y'all declared the local state of emergency. So we'll be 1 year in the pandemic since those 2 dates later this week. And Mike sent me some of his vaccine data this morning. We are up to, let me pull it back up. Get the right report. So there are at least 51% of our plus 65 residents have had at least one dose of the vaccine. So that's massive process in the age group that is most vulnerable to the disease. Countywide, we're at 18%, probably approaching 20% will have had at least one dose later this week, which again is massive progress. Still a long way to go. And as Commissioner mentioned, the governor signed an executive order last night expanding as of next week the categories to lower the age to plus 60. And so that will continue to roll out and change as we do that. And so that's real positive. Again, when you look at our numbers, we're still behind the state average for counties. But again, that's because this region originally, as we discussed, 2 months ago, didn't get the vaccine as we should have per population, and we've never caught up from a regional perspective. Us, Hillsborough, Pinellas, Polk, Manatee are still behind, basically the same percentage behind that we were the very first when we weren't getting what we should based on our population base. So we're in good shape. As everybody said, we're getting it pushed out. We're making sure every drop gets into an arm. It's just a matter, we've still never made that gap up that we got shorted as a region, not just a county, but as a region, in late December and early January. So that's positive, and that's resulting in significantly less hospitalizations. We're down below 5% of the hospital beds are held by those that have COVID. And so that's a very, very positive number. And the same thing on ICU. It's right about 5% of the ICU beds are those that are positive for COVID. So very, very good in trending the right way. We're still, our 14-day average of new cases is still right around 100. We need that to continue to drop. And our percent positive, we're right around 6%. I think it's kind of the running average over the last 7 days. Though that needs to get below 5%, and we really need the numbers on the cases to drop. And hopefully the next couple of weeks with spring break, we don't see, a peak coming after that. But we're in a good spot. We're trending well. The CDC came out with some guidance yesterday with respect to those that are vaccinated. But keep in mind, it's not when you get your first shot or your second shot, it's 2 weeks really after that second shot that you're considered fully vaccinated. So we are watching that, and Mike and I have talked pretty regularly about, what's the process in this going forward. I will say, Pasco's open for business and has been open for business since the day the governor opened the state back up. We just ask that and require through the order that people wear their masks when they can't socially distance and they're inside in public spaces. That's not too much right now until we get more people vaccinated, especially that older group that we're targeting. So,
Mr. Bowles, that 21% you're talking about vaccinated, does that include those people that came in from another county into Pasco too, or did they separate those out?
So they separate those out in their database, and so he can track the number of virus vaccinated or those residents of Pasco County that have gotten a vaccine from anywhere. That's the number he's looking at.
All right.
The majority of those have gotten them obviously inside Pasco County, but we've had plenty of people that have gone to other counties to get vaccinated too, and vice versa, right? Because if you can get into Publix, in Lakeland, and you get a slot, drive to Lakeland, go get the vaccine. So the one caveat to that is we don't have the numbers from the vaccinations given out by the VA. They're working to get those numbers, but so those numbers are all without the numbers of vaccinations given out by the VA. And the VA has also been vaccinating eligible vets that are plus 65 at the various VA facilities. So that number is not including because that's not part of the state tracking system. They should have those numbers here in the next 7 to 10 days incorporated into their numbers. I think it's another 5 or 10%. Yeah. Yeah.
Wait,
Ms.
okay,
Fitzpatrick.
thank you. So when I was reading this, it confused me because you had said it's going to be 60 and older. They're lowering it on March 15th. And then they said frontline health workers and sworn law enforcement. I thought first responders were already eligible regardless of their age, but then it says K through 12 employees and firefighters age 50 or older.
The technical language, and so I'll give you the answer. The technical language is you are correct. It's firefighters 50 and older. However, all of our firefighters are required to be paramedics, and we consider them frontline healthcare workers. Right. And so those that have wanted the vaccine, we've tried to get the vaccine. So we consider our paramedics frontline healthcare workers that have direct patient contact. Okay. And so we have done that since his very first executive order came out.
To make sure
that is how we tried to qualify and quantify our firefighters / paramedics because they are frontline healthcare workers when they respond to a scene. And so we have been, those that have wanted the vaccine, again, you still have a group out there that's not sure, we have tried to get them the vaccine. Oh. So we've done that. And the number I saw the middle of last week, we were about 550 county employees total have gotten the vaccine. And so total. That was last week. And again, so right under 3,000, 2,900, 2,980, depends on the day. So we're continuing to work that. I have a whole packet of great news. I'm not going to go through it all. We'll send this out to you today or tomorrow. I will point out that the project manager you all know, Sam Bennick, was awarded the 2020 Professional of the Year by the Florida Bicycle Association for the work on trails. So, you know, since y'all know his name because of the trail work he does and the other small project he's been working on, Ridge Road. I wanted to make sure y'all are aware of that, but we will send, there is a ton of great stuff in here, you know, across the enterprise. Another one is just real quick, IT. We started training or continued to, and we increased our security training a few years ago from an IT perspective. We went from a 20% click rate on phishing emails to the last data shows us below 2% from a county employee perspective. And that's, you know, one of the largest vulnerabilities to our security system. And so by training our team members, our employees on, you know, how to recognize those things that are related to vulnerabilities on the network, we've made a tremendous impact to help protect our data. And that ultimately, you know, that is, you know, what we're trying to do is protect our data. And so we've gone from a 20+% click rate, you know, 2 years ago to a 1.8% click rate today. So while that's still, you know, the industry average is about 4.5. The goal is 0, right? You want to be at 0, but that's significant progress, and that's a team effort. You know, every employee has the ability to recognize something, and IT has done a tremendous job really improving that system. And I know y'all know, you know, about two-factor authentication. If you're logging into the network, you know, there's a bunch of other things that we're doing to continue to protect our data because we can't protect it enough, as we saw, you know, not too long ago with the water plant just south of us and in the intrusion that it had. So continue to work on that. And Mr. Chair, I got a lot of other good news, but I think I'm pretty much done for now. So, okay. Yes, ma'am.
So on the vaccine, so this building is still closed. The other building is still closed. The county building is it open to the public?
No, it's open. Well, the building department's still taking permits in the first floor for now, but for meetings and stuff, the building's open. But this one, because generally there's no need on a day-to-day basis for the public to be in this building, you know, it's closed for now. Now we are continuing to evaluate those, and my guess is over the next 4 to 8 weeks there will be some changes in that process.
So when, are we having our staff report back to work? Or they all?
So we have a remote work policy that's in place that we adopted middle last year. And that is really going to be dependent on the operational necessity of the various work groups and departments. So some areas are actually be more efficient working remotely. Some areas are coming back into the office, and what we're probably going to see is a lot of hybrids, where you have people work from home so many days a week and then come into the office other days of the week, depending on the operational necessity in ensuring that we maintain level of service. But there is a significant advantage to certain skill sets and certain professions working from home because of how efficient they can be, or working remotely. We call it remote work policy, not necessarily work from home policy.
So, a couple months ago, you and I had a meeting with some, very big contractors, some of the biggest in the Tampa area. And it was mentioned there that when plans are submitted, hard copies, they sit on a table for a day or two, and then they move to another table for a day or two, then another table to a day or two. Are we still doing that?
I don't think so.
And also, just
You got an answer coming, I think.
the person was having a little bit of trouble getting a response back.
And that was a communication issue on that one we have worked to solve.
So he had come to the building, the head guy, not the head guy on this project, had come to the building 3 times to talk to the plans examiner to try to understand what they wanted them to resolve. And, he wasn't able to talk to anybody. Now, this was a month or 6 weeks ago. Has that situation changed?
We have worked to improve the communication process, yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we'll continue to work to continue to improve that, depending on It's okay. I heard everything. So,
Yeah. So, something I heard this morning was on the news was a discussion of a vaccine passport that was coming, and that I guess at some point, I don't know how you're gonna, if this is the case in the workplace, if some people have had the vaccine and all these people chose not to get it. Is it business as usual for the people who decide not to get the vaccine, or how would you do it? I don't. Hadn't really thought about all that.
I guess from an operational perspective, that's a little bit different than what a business may do for their operation. The Supplemental CARES Act extended the requirement to have the quarantine leave through the end of March. That did not get incorporated, at least I don't believe it did, into the act that was passed in the Senate over the weekend. And so the requirement to allow your employees to have quarantine leave expires at the end of March. What we're going to do from a policy perspective is until the vaccine is readily available and our employees have had adequate time to get that, if they want to, they will still have quarantine leave available to them at such point where we think there's been enough time for them to get it and they can make a decision yes or no, and it's adequately available. You don't have to make an appointment and wait 3 weeks, but you can go into Publix and get it or whatever, like you do the flu vaccine. The quarantine leave will go away, and if you happen to get sick or in contact, you'll just become PTO. But that probably won't happen probably in May. But again, there'll be an HR policy change that we will make internally to the operation. From a business perspective, our goal is to get, everybody, many people vaccinated, so we reach herd immunity, whatever that number happens to be, and then just make sure that you continue to be safe and maintain social distances where you can, and those kinds of things, because they help with other transmittable diseases too, right? That helps with the cold, that helps with flu, all those other things that require people to take time off too. So, we'll be continuing to manage that, but at some point, some of the restrictions will go away.
Right. And lastly, I just want to commend our county for the policy of not wasting any vaccine. I know there was recently a nice little article in the paper, but I've learned that some other counties just are throwing away vaccines. And I think we have a very good plan to make sure that not one vaccine gets wasted. And that only benefits the public here in Pasco County. So,
and over time, we've gotten better with making sure we understand how many people are going to show up for events, to make sure we get the right or closer to the right amount out. You know, initially there was a wide disparity, and we've over time understood better the behavior. And so we're getting better at making sure we're closer to what we really need, so we don't have as much excess on a day-to-day basis that we have to do the fire drill for.
Yeah, I know my mom got one vaccine and she got it because there was leftover. And then she got COVID. And so now she's still not doing well. She's got pneumonia still months later, or a month later. And so she was not allowed to get her second shot. So she did not show up on the day that she was supposed to go for her second shot. You know, so I'm sure there's a lot of that going on too.
Chairman?
I was just going to mention, I think it's very important that if they do schedule, that they do attend or try to call in and cancel their appointment, just to make sure that we don't have wasted vaccines.
And you know, so you got to keep in mind, it's not just the health department giving it, it's our IMT, the state's IMT team that's working through Andy Fossa at the EOC that's doing it. Publix, Walgreens, Walmart, Winn-Dixie, CVS. I think I'm missing one. I think one of the subsidiaries of one of those is also giving it in our region. So there's what's that?
Sam's Club.
Right. There's a whole variety of ways you can now get the vaccine. We managed to watch it so that we don't end up the way early on where we had more that we needed to get rid of. Now they're getting much more refined with expectations and what they're seeing.
Is there a standard wait list that CVS or Walgreens or one of these places can say, oh, well, let's go back to this standardized wait list and use that wait list to see if someone can come
they're
on?
all working off their own individual appointment systems. And, you know, part of that is not telling the privates how they run their business, but say, okay, here's some vaccine, you get it out as best you can, and here are the restrictions that the state has put on you, and then let them do it. And that's basically how they've done it.
Well, what a lot of people don't know is when you open that one vial or that one shot, it has 6 shots in it or it has 10 shots in it. So people don't understand, well, if you have 5 people giving in shots that day and they each use half of them, and then you have 60 left over or whatnot. So that's why we do have so many left. That's why we could have so many left over at the end of the day. Also, I was wondering, I know this has been brought up before, the mask mandate. Didn't they say it was going to be recommended that 70% of people are going to be vaccinated with a low positivity rate before they are looking at
I've seen
removing the mask mandate?
various numbers. I don't think anybody has because herd immunity is based on the R naught factor, how contagious the disease is, and so they're still doing research on some of that. And so, you know, if you look at infectious diseases historically, we have some that you need 99% of the community. I think measles is one where you almost need like everybody vaccinated, and then there's some where if 60% of the community is vaccinated, you have herd immunity. So it really just depends on how contagious the vaccine is. I don't think they have the final numbers. I've heard various numbers from 60 to 90+%. So I don't know we have a good number on that yet. I think the key there is watching our positivity rate, watching our hospitalizations, which are good because, you know, cases lead to hospitalizations, but the more we hit the plus 65 community, the less hospitalizations we're seeing because a younger group doesn't react like that. Now they can still have serious complications, but they typically don't end up in hospital beds or in ICU.
Okay, because I've also met with Advent Health and other hospitals, but Advent Health, we spoke more in depth on the vaccines and on COVID-19, and they had made sure that people should be coming to the ER if they need to be going to the ER, and they can also shut down other wings if there is an outbreak or something for COVID-19. So they can make beds readily accessible.
Right. Yeah, they have a pretty good surge capacity.
Mr. Chairman, Jack Mariano.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say that Dan, Mr. Foster, and Mike Napier, getting with all the neighborhoods and getting these vaccines out, they have done an absolute phenomenal job. I've got, as Mr. Commissioner Moore said, tons of phone calls with people that are happy getting it done. So let me ask a question, Dan, as far as like talking about herd immunity. Is anyone given data to those that have had the disease and have built up antibodies as far as building up herd immunity? Are they using that data too, or just straight vaccine?
No, I think that's important. I don't know if there's any reasonable consensus out there on what that really means. And so, I think obviously we've seen different states take different approaches. In our state's been probably pretty aggressive with respect to open businesses, but then kind of allowing the local areas to kind of make decisions on other restrictions. So I think that there isn't really good data out there on that has kind of consensus of the scientific community. And I think I've heard a lot of things from, if you've had the disease, you're immune forever, to know it's only like a 3-month immunity. So it's really kind of hard to tell at this point. But again, I think there's a spot at which we will reach a pretty good state, if you will, probably here in the next 6 to 8 weeks with respect to vaccine availability, the number of the vulnerable groups that have had the vaccine, and that will result in really, really, positive impacts to the hospitalization rates and in the capacity in our hospitals, which allow them to do other things. So I think we'll see some real positive results probably here in the next 6 to 8 weeks. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. And again, it's gonna be around forever. Like flu, cold, other SARS are still out there. It's just a matter
Actually, even doing a research on a pill I saw.
Yeah, so it'll become like everything else. So.
All right, thank you.
All right, that everything?
That's all I have. Sorry for taking up so much.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
I have a couple of things. Commissioner Moore had mentioned the development services on unannounced cash counts. Also, on C3, we provided an audit of, well, actually it was a request from Code Compliance Division for a consulting agreement to review the termination process of their use of the David system, and that is through the memorandum of understanding from the Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles with Florida. And my team, the Inspector General, reviewed the user activity, the cutoff documentation, notification, and removal of access. And just want to say your team did an amazing job on that whole process. It is highly regulated by DHSMV, and they did a fantastic job. So kudos to your team in the Code Compliance Division on that. And also they were wonderful to work with the Inspector General. So thank you. The other news I wanted to share with you is we did hold our Valentine's Day ceremony. It seems so far away now, but it was just around the corner and in history there. But we had 21 couples, and it was kind of a rainy day, so we ended up moving it inside at the jury assembly room. And we had great help with law enforcement to be able to give us access to that secured building on the weekend. So greatly appreciate our Pasco Sheriff's Office for that. And it was a beautiful event. And I was pleasantly surprised that the county's very own Cherry from downstairs was married. I got to marry her, so it was such a beautiful event, and her family was there. Social distance, it was very healthy events from it, but it was really beautiful. And 21 couples there, total couples married so far at our Valentine's ceremony for the past 13 years is 262 couples. So we're making great things happen here in Pasco County. Good. The last thing I want to mention is jury trials are coming back, and that will be March 15th is the date that they're going to begin jury trials. We are ready for the jurors to keep them so properly social distance and proper cleaning and disinfectant within the courthouse. So we are ready for that. Just wanted to make sure everyone was also aware of the jury trials starting back. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, it's 12 o'clock, but I have an item I want to bring up. I have something else, but I'll bring it up at the end of our meeting today. I made a tour of the Newport Ritchie, and if you would, Eric, could you pull up? I think I have a couple slides.
Oh, is that the Hacienda?
Yep. I went and toured the Hacienda with City Manager Debbie Mann and had lunch with her and Mayor Rob Marlowe, and Pete Altman carried me around the city and saw a lot of improvements they're making in Newport Ritchie. The Hacienda, the picture you see in front of you, that building was built in 1922, and they're in the renovations. They made an agreement with the CRA, made an agreement with Mr. Garrison, who is renovating and purchasing the building. So it will be a hotel, and later on this year, they'll finish. Do you have next slide? Okay. Let's see. Is that the parking garage? Or the Kaiser? There we go. We have the Kaiser University. They have 1,000 student body, 100 staff members over in Newport Richey. They're making, building and transforming some old area in that city to going to be very beautiful and have this university there. Also, the next slide is a Gloria Swanson parking lot. And that parking course is essential to the business in downtown and all. They've actually been going through a lot of area down there and revamping, remodeling, bringing in some new business. And even we rode through some of the neighborhood that's close right there. And you can even see the pride the residents in Newport Richey have in their homes because they've upgraded them, they've painted them. I mean, they really look great. So you can take that. They take very much pride in their properties and where they live there. So
it's exciting to see it. I know my brother-in-law is doing a lot of investment there. It's exciting to see the changes.
Yeah, for me, I'm of course East Pasco person, but I don't see all this all the time. So I was amazed where we took the boat ride for the river, for the Chaska Pass boat tour and or parade, I guess it was. But where the river comes into the city and all, I saw where we actually come to and then turn around, came back out. And it's kind of interesting to me, but it's got a lot of beauty there and a lot of things to be proud of in that city. And I think their councilmen are all doing a great job. I've talked to, pretty much all of them, I guess, there about different things, but their dollars for CRA are working in the right way. So it shows, and it's going to get better there. So with that, I'll let that be for till lunch. We'll adjourn for lunch and we'll come back at 1:30.